Today we're going to practice factoring a polynomial when a is not equal to 1. When I look at example 1, the first thing I want to check, always for every problem, is to see is there a greatest common factor. In example 1 there is. The greatest common factor is 5. So my first step is to take out a 5. Now I'm back to problems like we did yesterday. My a value is 1. I set up my two sets of parentheses. X times x gives me x squared. 2 times 1 gives me 2. And I can check by making a smiley face. So I multiply the middle. I multiply the outside. I add it up. It gives me 3x. That's my middle term. So I know I'm correct. All right, let's look at example 2, where there is no greatest common factor. When we do problems like this, it is simply a guess and check. There's no magic way to do it that's going to give me the exact answer the first try. So we have to just try some things. So the first thing we want to do is set up two sets of parentheses. The first term here times the first term here should give me 4x squared. So that could be 2 times 2 or 4 times 1. I'm going to guess 2 times 2. 2x times 2x. Next, I want to take the last term here and the last term here, and it should multiply to give me 3. So I'm going to guess 3 times 1. I'm going to put in my plus signs, and I'm going to check. So when I multiply the middle, I get 2x. On the outside, I get 6x. I add it up, and it's 8x. That is not what I want. I want 13x, so I made a mistake. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start the problem again. I'm going to set up my parentheses, but this time instead of 2x times 2x, I'm going to try 4x times 1x. Then the last term times the last term still needs to equal 3. So I'm going to put a 3 and a 1. I want both of my signs to be positive in this problem. So I multiply the middle and I get 1x. I multiply the outside, I get 12x. I add them together, 13x. That's my middle term, so I know I did it correctly. So sometimes it takes more than one try, and that's totally normal. Let's try example 2, problem B. All right, I set up my two sets of parentheses. I want the first term times the first term to be 3x squared. So it has to be 3x times 1x. The last term times the last term needs to be 2. Now, I'm not sure if I should put the 2 here and the 1 here, or if I should put the 1 here and the 2 here. It's a guess. Now, here's your clue. When the last number is positive, when you see a plus, that means your signs inside the parentheses are going to be the same. So they're going to be plus plus, or they're going to be minus minus. So I know my signs are going to be the same, but this time I look over here and I see that they're going to be minus minus. All right, last step, I make a smiley face. I get negative 1x, negative 6x, add it together, negative 7x, which is what I have in the middle. So there's my answer. So I got lucky that time. I got it on the first try. All right, example 3. I want you to notice that when we set up our parentheses for this problem, so I set up above, when the last number is positive, the signs are the same. When this last number is a negative, that means my signs should be different. That means one of them is a plus and one of them is a minus. All right, so now I start guessing again. I want the first term here times the first term here to be 2x squared. So 2x times 1x. And I want the last term times the last term to be negative 7. So it has to be 7 times 1. So I could put 7 and 1. And again, that's a guess. I might have those in the wrong spot. So I make a smiley face and I multiply. I get 1x, negative 14x. I add it together, and that's negative 13x, which is not what I want. I want negative 5 in the middle. So I set up a new set of parentheses. I know it has to be 2x times x, but I'm going to switch the 7 and the 1 this time. My signs have to be different. And now I make my smiley face. Negative 7x, positive 2, add it up, negative 5. Got it. That was correct. All right. Let's look at example 4. In this example, our a value is negative. We never want that. It's not good when your a value is negative. So the first thing I want to do is take out a negative 1. So that's going to change all my signs. Now my a value is positive, so I can factor. I want to continue to bring that negative 1 along, that greatest common factor. I don't want to just drop it off and lose it. So again, the first term times the first term has to be 4. It could be 4 times 1. It could be 2 times 2. I have to take a guess. I'm going to guess 2 times 2. The last term times the last term has to be negative 5. Remember, because it's negative, it means my signs should be different. So I'm going to put 5 times 1. I'm going to make a smiley face to see if I'm right. So I get positive 10, negative 2x, add them up. That gives me a positive 8x. That's what I wanted in the middle. Check. I got it. Remember, you're not always going to get it on the first try, and that's completely normal. All right, we're going to try a problem now, and the only difference with this problem and the ones we did before, the ones up above did not have an equal sign, and this one does have an equal sign. We're going to start the same way. We're going to do 2 sets of parentheses. So the first term times the first term has to be 2k squared. Now the last term is negative 18. The negative tells me my signs should be different. And 18 could be 1 times 18, it could be 2 times 9, or it could be 3 times 6. Again, it's just a guess. I always like to start with the numbers that are closest together. So I'm going to start with 3, 6. So I'm just going to take a guess, and I'm going to put the 3 and the 6, and we're going to see what happens. I make my smiley face, 3k, negative 12k. Add it up, that gives me negative 9k. That did not work. So I'm going to put 2 new sets of parentheses. I know it has to be 2k times k. I know my signs have to be different. I'm going to try switching the 6 and the 3. And then I multiply. 6k, negative 6k. I add that up, 0k. Again, not what I want. So I'm not having much luck on this one, but I'm going to try it again. So 2 new sets of parentheses. 2k, k. I'm going to put a plus and a minus. And this time I'm going to try the 9 and the 2. 9 2. I multiply the middle. I multiply the outside. I add them together. And I got positive 5k. I'm supposed to have a negative 5k in the middle, so I'm very close. So my last try, I'm going to have 2k and k. I have my 9 and my 2, but I'm going to switch the signs. And I'm going to put a negative first and a positive second. Multiply it out. I get negative 9k, positive 4. Add it together, and I get 5k. This one works. But since I have an equal sign this time, I have to go one step further, and I have to solve these two equations. So I take whatever has a variable, and I have to set those equal to 0. So I'm going to take 2k minus 9 and k plus 2, and I'm setting up equations equal to 0. I'm going to solve these. I'm going to add 9, and I'm going to divide by 2. So one of my answers is 9 over 2. And the other one, I'm just going to subtract the 2. And those would be my two solutions. All right, let's just practice maybe 2 more, and then you guys can try it on your own. So let's try problem. Let's do number 2. I set up my parentheses. The first term times the first term should be 14. I'm going to try 7x times 2x. Since the 15 is positive, I know my signs are the same. And I look over here, I see a plus, so I know they're both plus. 15 could be 1 times 15, or it could be 3 times 5. So I'm going to do 3 times 5 and give that a try. I make my smiley face. 6x, 35x, add it together, 41x. That does not work. So I'm going to try one more time. 7x, 2x, I know plus plus. This time I'm going to switch the 5 and the 3. So I'm going to put the 5 here and the 3 here. Multiply the middle, multiply the outside, add it together. That's the middle term. There's my answer. And we'll do one more. Let's do number 7. Actually, I'm going to do number 9. Just because of the signs, I like how that problem works. Remember, we don't want a negative a value. So right now, a is negative 3. So I'm going to take out a negative 1 as my greatest common factor. That changes all the signs. I bring down my negative 1. I set up my parentheses. The first term times the first term has to equal 3x squared. So it has to be 3x times x. Since the 2 is negative, I know my signs are different, so I'm going to put a plus and a minus. And the only thing that multiplies to give me 2 is 2 times 1. Let's see if we're right. I get a positive 2x, a negative 3x. I add it together, negative 1x, and I actually want a positive 1x. So I'm going to give it one more try. I'm going to put my negative 1, 3x, and x. And I still want the 2 and the 1 where they were, but I want to switch the signs. So I get negative 2x, positive 3x. I add it together. I get that positive 1x. Here's my answer. All right, so that is factoring when a does not equal 1. This will be your homework, and it's due on Monday.